A husband and wife shot and killed more than a month ago are being remembered tonight at a vigil. Neighbors and loved ones in Brampton are also pushing for answers from police. Jagtar Singh Sidhu and his wife Harbhajan were visiting from India. They'd been in Canada for a few months when they were shot in a home their son was renting. Now, he says there are still many questions. One of the big ones, why an officer from Peel's Homicide and Missing Persons Unit showed up at the property and spoke to his parents just days before the murder. Let's bring in Sarah McMillan. She's standing by for us live at Brampton City Hall. Sarah, the couple's son has been demanding justice for his family for weeks now. We know his sister also remains in hospital on life support. She was shot as well. You spoke to him today. What is he saying?
Hi, Shannon. Yeah, Gurdeep Singh Sidhu says he is really struggling right now to cope and to make sense of what's happened. He says he is getting lots of great support from family and friends, but right now he is very focused on trying to get answers about what happened to his parents and to his sister. Now, Shannon, you mentioned that visit from Peel Police just days before the shooting. Gurdeep tells me he believes there is a connection.
Just 4 days before, on 16th of November, homicide police came into our house and asked for my parents' IDs, and after 4 days my parents have been killed and my sister has been shot. So after 4 days this tragedy has been happened. So they must know there is something is going on, right?
Now, Peel Police confirmed to CBC they did send an officer to the home days before the shooting. They say that's part of a separate and ongoing investigation, and they couldn't comment on whether there's any connection between that investigation and these homicides.
Like we said earlier, there's still so many questions, Sarah. We know concerned community members were also at the vigil. What are they telling you?
Yeah, I spoke with a number of friends and family today, and the big word really is disbelief. Several of them spoke about Jagtar and Harbhajan. They described them as very kind people, very faithful people. One friend of their son described how they would often offer to make him food because he didn't have any family here in Canada. So some nice memories there. But really, Shannon, another big thing that I heard today is how this incident has really affected people's feeling of safety here in Peel region.
This is really like scary. We hear all the way always about carjacking and all that, but this type of incident, people entering in the house and killing the entire family, and especially with the automatic weapons.
Oh, believe me, in my house I have installed another lock upon lock in my front door because it's crazy what happened. I never heard this thing, not in my back home, not here. It's the first time I heard, and my life has totally changed after this. Yeah.
Shannon, OPP say they can't provide many details or much comment because this is very much an ongoing investigation, though they did previously say they believe multiple people were involved in this shooting, and they are asking anyone with information to contact them. Shannon?
Thanks, Sarah. We appreciate your reporting on this. Now, we've been following this story from the very beginning. For more, you can head to our website, cbc.ca/Toronto. To Ottawa next, where a man is dead after flames broke out at a seniors' home last night. The call came in just before 11:30 about a fire at an Ottawa community housing senior living building. Firefighters managed to contain the fire to one unit. They found the man, performed CPR, and revived him, but he later died from his injuries. The office of the fire marshal is now leading the investigation. Back in Toronto, police are investigating the first homicide of the year in what appears to be a suspected murder-suicide. Officers were called to a home in North York on Tuesday morning. They found the bodies of a man and woman. Police say the man's body had signs of trauma. In a news release, police say they believe the woman is responsible for both deaths. The couple were also known to each other. The 28-year-old victim is now being identified as Mert Sosdenler from Toronto. Detectives are hoping to speak to anyone who may have known him. Still in North York, a 17-year-old boy is facing charges after an SUV rammed into a townhouse. It happened earlier this week on Thursday night. The teen, who cannot be identified under the Youth Criminal Justice Act, was driving a Tesla SUV when he allegedly left the road, crashed over the sidewalk, and smashed into the back of a home. 6 people, including 3 adults who are inside at the home during the crash, were injured. Police are charging the driver under the Highway Traffic Act. Now, just last month, Tesla recalled more than 2 million vehicles sold in North America to fix, quote, a defective system that should ensure drivers are paying attention when using autopilot. In an email to CBC, officers said when asked about that issue, they are, quote, still investigating all the details as to what led to the collision. You're looking live at a snowy skating rink in downtown Toronto. A special weather statement is on for the GTA, forecasting what could be the first big snowfall of the year. The City of Toronto says its crews are standing by, ready to salt streets and sidewalks, and you can bet they're already out there now. Let's bring in Sophia. You've been tracking this one for us. We've all been waiting and expecting for this to happen.
Yeah, it has been a very long wait, but in one go, over our overnight hours this evening and into the pre-dawn hours of Sunday, we will receive, for some, especially in the east end of the City of Toronto, more snow than we've seen all season. We're talking upwards of 15 centimeters of snowfall in a system setup that is highly variable because of the added insult to injury of lake effect snowfall. But really, everybody from Burlington to the Cobourg area will see about 5 to 10 centimeters of snowfall, a little bit more if you're at higher terrain, as part of the system that's grazing us from the south. But then here's where things get really interesting. Into the overnight hours, this east wind really locks in and sets dead straight at downtown Toronto, where some of you, especially beaches, East York, Scarborough region, could see snowfall rates at 1 centimeter an hour. It's going to mean tricky travel on any of the 400 series highways and that DVP 404 combination this evening and into tomorrow morning. And Shannon, that's not all. This is only system 1 of 2 this upcoming work week. This system will also bring quite a bit of snow, up to 10 centimeters to the Ottawa region into tomorrow morning. I'll tell you more in the long range.
Okay, thanks so much.
You're welcome.
Well, keeping a close eye on the sky and potential snow on the ground are the owners of ski resorts and anyone really who loves outdoor winter sports. As Tyler Cheese shows us, so far it had been a slow start to the season.
Just earlier this week, most of Ontario's ski hills were brown and slushy, if they were open at all.
It's no secret. It's been a slow and challenging start to the season for Ontario alpine and Nordic ski operators.
It's really the fluctuating temperatures. We've had a lot of rain, and so it's number one. It's hard to get the snowmaking up and going when you have short windows of cold weather, and then people aren't really interested in skiing in the rain.
But now, finally, skiers are seeing the temperatures and the snow they've been hoping for.
From Kenora to Thunder Bay to Timmins to Ottawa to Barrie, Collingwood, London, we've got skiing all across the province right now. So don't let your backyard fool you. It's there are snow on the hills.
And for most, it's better late than never.
Mother Nature's finally come through with some colder weather and a bit of natural snow, and our snowmaking team has been taking advantage of that and getting more and more runs open every day.
While this year saw a particularly late start to the season, experts say that's something we're likely going to have to get used to.
This is a preview of our future. It's what our tourism industry is going to have to adapt to.
This professor says if high levels of greenhouse gas emissions continue globally, future seasons are likely to get even worse.
Average season lengths, are 20% or more shorter in southern Ontario, and the snowmaking needs, double to triple depending on which ski area you're talking about.
He says the best way for the average skier to combat this issue is to stick to slopes closer to home rather than driving or flying to far-off locations. As for the ski hills, they're making preparations to adapt to the changing climate.
Most traditional ski resorts are now becoming four-season resorts. A lot of mountain biking, golf, summer activity, ropes courses, stuff like that.
But for now, he just wants people to know the hills are open for everyone to come and enjoy. Tyler Cheese, CBC News, Barrie.
In other news, doctors and patients are speaking out, saying wait times at Ontario emergency rooms are unacceptable. Some experts saying they are the worst they've ever seen.
If anyone visits an emergency room in Toronto or Ontario today, what they see is paramedic stretchers lined up down the hallway because they can't unload their patients because the ER has no beds. And the ER has no free beds because the hospital has no free beds. And the hospital has no free beds because they can't discharge patients into the community. And so we have a backward problem where there's no place to see people.
Beyond the lack of beds, he says systematic staffing shortages worsening vaccine uptake and a shortage of primary care physicians are all adding pressure on ERs. Earlier this week, that father you see there went public after it took 8 hours for his newborn with a fever to be seen by a doctor.
You know, so as the hours just went by, obviously the frustration, the anger is setting in. You know, we're doing everything we can to try to keep my son calm because he's hungry. We didn't bring formula because we didn't expect to be there for 8 hours.
The province says it has invested $44 million to incentivize emergency departments for innovative solutions to wait times, but with many in healthcare facing burnout, experts say the government needs to increase hospital capacity and pay its ER workers much better. Turning to some international news next, officials from around the world are once again appealing for calm in the Middle East after the militant group Hezbollah fired rockets from Lebanon into northern Israel. Israel responded with drone strikes on Hezbollah positions. Hezbollah called its attack retaliation for the assassination of Hamas's deputy chief in Lebanon earlier this week. Now, Israel neither confirms nor denies responsibility. In southern Gaza today, Khan Yunis came under heavy bombardment. 18 people reportedly died in a single house. Gaza officials say 22,700 people have now been killed. As you can see there, the U.S. Secretary of State was in Turkey today, once again seeking consensus. He says his priorities are Israeli hostages, civilian casualties, humanitarian assistance, and containing the conflict. You may have caught this video today, a passenger jet mid-flight with a gaping hole. A panel blew out on this Alaska Airlines Boeing jet, leaving passengers and crew terrified at high altitude. Oxygen masks were deployed. The crew managed to turn the plane back around to Portland, Oregon, and land safely. The panel may have been an optional door that's permanently deactivated on Alaska Airlines. Now, all of its Boeing 737 MAX 9s were temporarily grounded for maintenance and inspection. Some very scary moments indeed. We are heading into a quick commercial break. Sophia is back with more on the snow next. Generations of the Tamil community coming together today, kicking off a month-long celebration with music, food, and history.
Recognize our political, social, economic, and cultural contributions as Tamil Canadians to this country and to the world. It also celebrates our rich history, our heritage, our language, our past, and it also helps us to plan forward and come together and plan for our growth together as a community. So it's a celebration, it's a recognition, it's also a path to move forward as well.
The annual Tamil Heritage Month, marking its 15th edition. This year's event celebrates the community's rich culinary history and its contribution to the food scene and hospitality sector. Sophia's back talking snow, slippery roads, and a double whammy with more snow coming next week.
Yeah, you got it. It's one of two courses this upcoming work week. And Shaden, this one's really going to catch a lot of people off guard because we've been lulled into this false sense of security with such a mild start to the winter season. Anytime now up until tomorrow morning, really tricky travel all the way along that 401 corridor, especially Toronto, all the way up to Cobourg. 404 DVP combination as snowfall rates for some areas just east of the downtown core could be about 1 centimeter an hour with this locked-in band of lake effect snow. Really, really anywhere from now until the pre-dawn areas on pre-dawn hours Sunday morning. But really everyone from Burlington up to the Ottawa area is going to see snow out of this system skirting to our south. A little bit more for those of you in the Ottawa Valley, as there's a little bit more cold air on the ground to work with, and the system kind of ramps up as it heads over to the east. But yes, this is just system 1 out of 2. The next one will be a Tuesday, Wednesday story at Texas Low, and Texas lows are notorious for being potent winter storms. This one has a bit of a temperature twist, though. It's pulling up a lot of Gulf warmth and moisture for thousands of kilometers in distance as it travels up the U.S. eastern seaboard. Tons of wind, really low barometric pressure. And if this was a little bit more to the north, we would be seeing quite a bit of snow out of this one. But it looks like that warm rain line will be farther to the north, and we are going to see snow followed by a ton of rain and wind Tuesday into Wednesday, Shannon.
Sounds like a mess.
Yeah, it's a very active roller coaster type week, but mild though.
Yeah, mild, so we won't have to do much shoveling, I guess.
No, enjoy the snowmen tomorrow though.
Okay, thanks, Sophia. That's it for us. We'll see you tomorrow.